Interesting thing on MLB.com about potential trade targets. Trade deadline about a month away now, as we're in July, which, gosh, how did that happen? So one of the names that pops up, and this one's interesting, C.J. Cron, first baseman for the Rockies. Bobby Bradley may kind of eliminate that thing there because you'd have to find a place to play him. The thing is, he's hitting the ball reasonably well for Colorado. It's not a huge dollar figure, wouldn't be huge in terms of prospect. Is that the kind of guy that the Indians might look at, you think?
I think you sort of said it. It's tough because he is that first baseman, and it would be different if Franmil was going to be out for the year and you could shift Bobby Bradley into a DH role or even throw CJ into the DH role. I mean, you could have those types of options. But with Franmil Reyes just on the verge of coming back and would be back probably for 3 weeks before we get to the deadline and getting everything back into sort of normalcy with their lineup, it just doesn't seem like it would be the best fit for them to try to give away a prospect or two to try to get him in return. It just doesn't seem like that's the exact missing piece that they're looking for. It doesn't fit perfectly for them, although all the other outside factors of him being pretty cheap, if you look in the big picture of it all, and his numbers are decent enough that would be a nice addition. I just don't know if he fits into this roster perfectly for them.
Yeah, at this point in time, you don't want him taking at-bats away from Bobby Bradley when Bobby Bradley's starting to figure it out at the big league level. I would agree with that. So there's two outfielders that are intriguing, and they're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. You have Adam Duvall. I believe it's $3 million, or it's either $2 or $3 million, and then he has a $7 million mutual option for the team. He's with the Marlins. And then another one that's even more interesting is Bryan Reynolds, outfielder from the Pirates. He's under team control through 2025. What that means, you're going to have to give up some significant prospects or more prospects. Do either of those fit kind of what the Indians might be looking at?
Honestly, I think year after year, just outfielders in general always seem to fit whatever they're needing. They always just seem to be a little bit short-staffed in the outfield department, and looking at any type of outfielder, I think, has the potential of being it. I really do like Bryan Reynolds. I think he's really intriguing, and I think that it could work. But like you said, it would take some haul back to Pittsburgh to be able to make that deal happen. But they sort of have a stacked farm system, especially in the middle infield. They have a tremendous number of really talented middle infielders that are really around the same age. So if you start thinking about, okay, when are these guys going to be playing, if they're all around the same age, and where would they go? And I think that gives them a little bit of wiggle room of maybe one of those guys could be someone who would headline a return package for a rebuilding team like the Pirates. I think that's definitely an option. I know that the Indians still think so highly of Tyler Freeman, and I mean, they have a plethora of middle infielders. So I do think that they could find something in there to put a package together, but it would just be whether or not they're willing to put together everything that Pittsburgh would want in return, because we just don't know how much that they would be asking for that type of a trade.
And the last one is a starting pitcher, Kyle Gibson. It's I think it's $7 million this year and $9 million next. So there's control under that. He's pitching well. Again, the question becomes, do you bring him in? You're going to have to give up some sort of prospects. And does it block somebody that you really like and want to see get at the major league level?
Yeah, it seems weird to be talking about the Indians needing starting pitching for like the first time in however many seasons now. So it's a weird perspective heading into the trade deadline, knowing that they really do need some help starting wise. I know that Bieber and Plesac and Savali, they're keeping everything crossed that all these guys could be back in the rotation by the end of the month, if not the beginning of August, and hopefully all that could work out. But I mean, even after that, they still have so many questions. They have the last two spots of the rotation that they could really bolster if needed. And Gibson's interesting because he's probably going to be the biggest name starter out there for this trade deadline that could possibly be moved. So it wouldn't be surprising to see some interest from multiple different teams. I don't know if they would actually make that deal or not, but so it would be interesting to see if the Indians would be able to compete with any other interest that would be out there, just because he is technically going to be probably the biggest name out there. And if they'd be willing to part ways with any of their prospects like that, the prospects that it would take to get that type of a pitcher back in Cleveland, So it'd be interesting to see if that plays out, or if they try to see if they can get maybe a lower level type of an arm that would give them some interest and maybe intrigue them a little bit, and they can work their Indians Cleveland pitching factory magic on them like they seem to have done for so many different guys, and figure out someone else maybe not as big as Gibson.